We are now streaming.
Oh, well done,
Okay.
Gemma.
We'll start again with the agenda. Apologies for absence. Are there any apologies for absence?
I've not received any apologies, Leader.
Thank you. Move on to item 2, declarations of interest. Are there any declarations of interest? No. We go on then to item 3, which is the minutes. To consider and approve as a correct record the minutes of the meeting held on the 20th of January 2021. Do we agree those minutes?
Agreed.
Are there any objection to those minutes? Then those minutes are agreed. Thank you. We move on then to item 4, which is the corporate plan, Creating Tomorrow Together. And I will speak to this. Now, this is, I think, coming together quite nicely. It has been cross-party input. I'm pleased that we've more or less arrived at a consensus. I think there's only one contentious line in it. Right, okay. So I'm going to propose this, that we accept the recommendations. Do I have a seconder?
Happy to second, Leader.
Thank you. Right, over to you, members. Councillor Prater.
Thank you, Leader. Yes, there is a contentious line, and therefore I'd like to move an amendment, which I did previously notify to officers. I hope they've let you know. The amendment is that the following recommendation should be inserted at recommendation 2, and then the current recommendation 2 renumbered recommendation 3. The recommendation is that I would ask to remove the words "at Prince's Parade" from page 12 of the corporate plan. Please don't worry, I'm not planning at this moment to have a full debate on the rights or wrongs of developing on Prince's Parade. I'm going to do that this evening at full council. However, the intention of this corporate plan is, as you said, that it should be a wider plan for the council, something that's giving us direction for the next 10 years. And it does do that. There's been, as you say, a lot of consultation across groups and wider than that. And there's a lot in here that people from across the council and from outside the council can agree. I've seen suggestions that I and my group have put into the process, accepted into the plan around digital infrastructure, financial inclusion, more than that. And I'm pleased to see them. And it's fair to say that a corporate plan is not everything that any individual one of us would want to do, but it's a core of things that each of us would then add to. So the Tim plan would be this plan plus some stuff. The David plan would be this plan plus some stuff, and so on. But the core of it should be that it's the recovery plan we need, but the core is that it's a joint aspiration across the council. And yet, unfortunately, it's not where we're at the moment, because for 3 words, I can't support this plan. And the 3 words are "at Prince's Parade," which is not going to be a surprise to you after my time back on this council. And yes, I've asked for those 3 words to be taken out previously in this plan. I flagged it on the first draft. It's not a surprise to David that I couldn't support a corporate plan committing to developing Prince's Parade. Flagged it to the leader, flagged it to the chief executive, director of corporate resources. It's not a late amendment or a surprise or something that I've come to late in this show. I have tried to do it before now. And there's a simple option here, is that we could just remove the 3 words "at Prince's Parade" from page 12 of the document, and then I share the aspiration. I want to see new leisure facilities and a new swimming pool of Hythe as well. I don't want it at Prince's Parade. Most of you seem to. Fine. But if we remove the 3 words, we can all support what's left. The corporate plan would say, we will invest in leisure facilities, including the development of a new leisure centre for the district located in Hythe. And to deliver that, while David's leader, his action plan to deliver it would include his current plans. If an asteroid hits and I become leader tomorrow, that's a remarkably well aimed asteroid, but my action plan wouldn't include Prince's Parade.
So thank you for that. All I would say is that a corporate plan is a corporate plan. Many things can happen in the time of a corporate plan. I too consult, as you do, with your groups, and my group is pretty adamant that those 3 words stay in. So as I represent that group, I will promote those 3 words.
Okay.
Jenny.
Well, I was just going to say that, should Tim become leader at some point, he would have every opportunity to change the corporate plan to something that he feels is more appropriate to himself. I feel very strongly about Prince's Parade. It's something we've been fighting for a number of years. It's been held up for 2 years. Now the judges have agreed that it can go forward, or at least agreed that there isn't a case to be had. I believe that we should go ahead with this, and I think that those 3 words are very definitely part of the corporate plan. So I couldn't support Tim's amendment at all.
Okay, Tim, can I go to Councillor Wybrow before I come back to you? Councillor Wybrow.
Thank you. I agree with you, Leader. This has been an example of cross-party working. I think that's something that we should be encouraging. But I'm going to second Councillor Prater's amendment, because I can't support it either, and it seems such a shame for the sake of a few words to get, to lose that opportunity to support a cross-party document. So I'm not going to say any more than that now. Plenty more to say later this evening, but I just hope you will vote for that amendment.
Absolutely, the battleground. Councillor Prater.
Yeah, that I was hoping that it would be a corporate plan that would make it more of our plan than just your plan. And it would be, I'd like to thank the officers and staff and councillors and the public who've had an input into it. And for 3 words, it doesn't remove Prince's Parade as your aspiration from it. It means that the aspiration as expressed in the corporate plan is something that we could all get behind. It's something I could vote for.
I do understand the nuance of the argument.
That's fine. I was just making sure that all councillors also understood the nuance.
So we have an amendment before us, which is to remove those 3 words on page 12. Yeah. Proposed by Councillor Prater, seconded by Councillor Wybrow. All those in favour? Gemma, would you take the roll call, please?
Thank you, Leader. Councillor Collier.
Against.
Councillor Godfrey.
Can't hear you, Councillor Collier. Godfrey, I mean, for some reason.
Councillor Godfrey.
Yeah, sorry. Finger troubles. It won't come to any surprise that I'm against.
Councillor Field.
Against.
Councillor Mrs Hollingsby.
Against.
Councillor Monk.
Against.
Councillor Peel.
Against.
Councillor Prater. Councillor.
You need to unmute Councillor Prater.
Oh, sorry, I thought I did. 4.
Councillor Wybrow.
4.
Councillor Wimble.
Thank you. That amendment falls. Does anybody wish to speak again on this before I go to the substantive vote?
Sorry, I just didn't hear Councillor Wimble's vote in that.
I was against.
Okay, that's fine.
Councillor Hollingsby.
Yes, I just wanted to reiterate Tim's words about the work that's gone into. I think it's an excellent document. I've read it through and through, and it's been updated as we've gone along. And of course, it has had the majority of it has been cross-party. And I'm just actually quite sad that after all this time, with up to a 2-year delay again, that we couldn't actually all support this. So, and I'd like to thank the officers. I think it's been a marvellous corporate plan, and I like the format.
Thank you very much. Anybody else wish to speak? No. Okay. Well, it's proposed by me, seconded by Councillor Mrs Hollingsby. All those in favour? Gemma, please.
Leader. Councillor Collier.
4.
Councillor Godfrey.
4.
Councillor Field.
4.
Councillor Mrs Hollingsby.
4.
Councillor Monk.
4.
Councillor Peel,
For.
Councillor Prater,
Against.
Councillor Wybrow,
Against.
Councillor Wimble.
For.
That's 7 for and 2 against, Leader.
Thank you. So those recommendations are approved. Okay, then we move on to item 5, which is the general fund budget and council tax. Again, here we go. Make sure I've got the right one. A lot of work has been done on this, and I think we've come up with within some difficult times, a remarkable budget to go forward. I have had it mentioned to me that that perhaps we ought to forego trying to put the rate up by 2%, or 1.99. I find that peculiar, because we know from our medium-term financial strategy that the way ahead is littered with problems, and to forego taking some money today will only multiply that difference by 5 against the target. So I'm happy, well, I'm never happy to put money up, but I'm content that we need to. I am pleased that we've managed to balance it so well. And I must pay tribute to all the officers again, who have searched their budgets and thought very carefully about what the future holds, and have managed to find so much saving. Anyway, could I have a proposer for this, please?
Happy to propose.
Thank you, Councillor Godfrey. Can I have a seconder?
Happy to second, Leader.
Thank you. Okay, over to you, members. Councillor Wybrow.
Thank you. Yes, nobody wants to raise council tax, but I think in the situation we are now, I think the important thing is not to cut frontline services. I am obviously a bit disappointed that we've had to raise some of the climate change reserve to help balance the budget. So really what I'm just asking you now, Leader, is just to repeat the confirmation that you've given me earlier, that you would repay that as soon as we're in a position to do that.
Indeed, I certainly didn't mean exactly in this year, but we will. And what I would also say to you is that it is the council's foremost policy. It really, as it applies to everything we do, we do need that. We need that budget. Having said that, we don't need to spend that budget at this point in time. So certainly my submission to you is right. We will repay it as and when we need to. Well, no, I was just saying as soon as we can. That's really the answer. And as I say, it is our main policy objective now. So it needs funding, but it has been funded very well from day one, which, unlike a lot of other councils, they haven't got that sort of money. And we did that before this pandemic hit us. And I think it sends the right message that we take a little from what is the largest reserve, and still leaves us a little bit in our general reserve for wriggle room and emergencies. So I think that I've fully answered your query there. Okay, Councillor Prater.
Thank you. I'm in a really, really difficult position here, because last year I said that although I accepted the broad shape of the budget, I thought that we needed to look at the issues that led to this council having the highest council tax band for band in Kent, and I still think we should. However, we had that conversation in February 2020, and in March, the world changed. And we've spent most of the last year looking at the budget monitoring this council and looking at the pretty devastating impact which COVID has had on budgets for us and for pretty much every other council in the country over the course of the last year. We've seen income crash, we've seen big extra costs, We've dealt with the impact of lockdowns and opening up and all of the costs involved in that, of supporting people who need it in their home. There has been additional government support, but it hasn't covered all of those extra costs and all of that lost income. And although people think that councils then furloughed all their staff, as a number of businesses did, we didn't furlough one. They all remained working for their communities, working as hard as they could from where they could, scrambling to get to a position of helping people when they were previously working from office. So I fully accept that what I said last year about the fact that we should consider about how our council tax bans match against other counties in councils in the country. That's still a piece of work that I think we should do. It was not a piece of work that could be done this year. It wasn't a piece of work that was reasonable to do this year. And in terms of the budget that is in front of us at the moment, there were a couple of options. Either try and cut the expenditure as much as possible in order to try and balance it up and not raid reserves in any way at all, and vote through big increases in fees and things, or don't do that. And to this budget's credit, it doesn't do that. It does take some money from reserves. It looks for additional income in future years. It doesn't vote through a big increase to fees. It's a realistic but optimistic budget that we will catch this back up in future years. And it's a lesser of two evils budget. So given that which we have done, there's detail I don't agree with, and there's still the question I think that we should get into scrutiny and look at why those numbers are different for us or higher for us than they are for other councils in the country. I think that's a point of scrutiny that should be done. But at this time of the options on the table, I think that coming out of COVID, this is a budget that I have to support and will.
Thank you very much for that, Councillor Prater. And I do thank you for your comments about the officers and their work. Our officers have gone way beyond the call of duty in the amount of effort they put in during this pandemic period. Councillor Wimble.
Thank you, Leader. Yes, I was going to say, I think it's very important that we not only maintain the service that we've delivered throughout the last 12 months in extremely hard circumstances, but, everything has a price in life. We all accept that. Our council's gone over and above what many other district councils has done to deliver help and support to the majority of the people. Okay, there's some people that slip through the net. We've done our best to do it. And I don't think now is the time to be looking at cutting services or even, reducing the deficit at the moment. That can be made up over the coming years. So I, like Councillor Prater, support the budget.
Thank you. Does any other councillor wish to speak?
Yes, please, Leader.
Yes, Councillor Godfrey.
Yeah, sorry, I did. I thought I put my hand up, sorry. I know most of it's been said, and I agree with the comments that have gone before. It would be it's very wise of us to have kept it as low as possible. None of us like to have increases. I don't like to pay more, but I accept that I will pay more because I want to have my services maintained. And I think it was very eloquently put together by Councillor Prater, actually, as why we should support this budget. And I also support your commitment to repay into the climate change reserve as and when we can and as soon as we can. So I fully support this report. And again, I would commend the officers, and this is why I'm happy to propose.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No other member wishing to speak? Well, it was proposed by Councillor Godfrey, seconded by Councillor Mrs. Hollingsby. All those in favour, Gemma, please.
Councillor Collier.
4.
Councillor Godfrey.
4.
Councillor Field.
4.
Councillor Mrs. Hollingsby.
4.
Councillor Monk.
4.
Councillor Peel.
4.
Councillor Prater.
4.
Councillor Wybrow.
Or
Councillor Wimble.
4.
That's unanimous, Leader.
Thank you very much. Okay, we now move on to item 6, the housing revenue and capital budgets. Councillor Godfrey.
Thank you, Chair. This report, in fact, has been before us at an earlier cabinet meeting last month, in fact, and also went through the scrutiny finance subcommittee. There are some minor amendments. The major recommendations have not changed. There's a slight improvement to what we were going to talk about, to fees and charges. Apart from that, the main changes are outlined in 1.5, and this is as a result of better figures coming today. It is a budget. We are going to be doing a large amount of work in our forward plan, in our capital program going forward. We have a big stock survey going on shortly, which is likely to cost some money, and I hope that's not going to affect our new build program. And as we've already approved this budget in basically the same form, I'd like to move the budget and the recommendations.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder for that?
I'm happy to second, Leader.
Thank you. Okay, over to you, members. No? Well, I think it is pretty self-explanatory. So if nobody else wishes to speak, it was proposed by Councillor Godfrey, seconded by Councillor Collier. All those in favour? Gemma, please.
Councillor Collier.
For.
Councillor Godfrey.
For.
Councillor Field.
For.
Councillor Mrs Hollingsby.
For.
Councillor Monk.
For.
Councillor Peel.
For.
Councillor Prater.
For.
Councillor Wybrow.
For.
Councillor Wimble.
For.
That's unanimous, Leader.
Thank you very much. We now come on to item 7, the capital strategy 21-22 and minimum revenue provision statement. It's one of my portfolio things. Our capital strategy, I believe, has been very good over the last few years, which is why we were able to have some reserves to put towards the climate agenda, and B, to help support our budget this year. I just recommend this report to you. This part, the main part of this is technical, but it is what it is. I'd like to propose it. Do I have a seconder?
Happy to second, Leader.
Thank you. Okay, over to you, members. Councillor Prater.
I'll keep it brief. I'm going to be moving an amendment to the General Fund Medium-Term Capital Programme later at full council. Although that is a different item to this, they are obviously interlinked. And the programme which is here in front of us at the moment does include the forward funding for Prince's Parade. I can't accept that element of it, as you'd expect me not to. I won't labour that point here, but I'll vote against on the basis of including that. But I'll be speaking to that later at full council.
Thank you, Councillor Prater. Anybody else wish to speak on this? No. Okay, so it's proposed by me, seconded by Councillor Hollingsby. All those in favour, Gemma, please.
Councillor Collier.
For.
Councillor Godfrey.
For.
Councillor Field.
For.
Councillor Mrs Hollingsby.
For.
Councillor Monk.
For.
Councillor Peel.
For.
Councillor Prater.
Against.
Councillor Wybrow.
Against.
Councillor Wimble.
For.
That's 7 for and 2 against.
Thank you. Okay, we now move on then to item 8, which is the investment strategy. Yeah. Okay. Once again, I think our treasury management is very, very well run, and it is a backbone of this council's financial stability. I'm very, very happy to propose it. Do I have a seconder?
Happy to second, Leader.
Okay, now over to you, members. Councillor Mrs Wybrow.
Thank you. Yeah, I have already flagged this. I just want to propose an amendment. It doesn't really change anything, I don't think, but I think it's just a change of emphasis, really. The amendment I'm proposing is to add a clause to the investment strategy to state that in accordance with the climate and ecological emergency motion that was passed in full council on the 24th of July 2019, all new investments will be assessed to ensure that they're in line with the shift to zero carbon by 2030. So it's just really for emphasis rather than a change.
Okay, do you have a seconder for that amendment? Councillor Prater?
She does.
Okay. Right, now, Councillor Godfrey.
I didn't have my hand up. That's last time. Sorry.
Okay. Well, now, the thing is, the full council motion of July 2019 included that the full council ensure that all strategic decisions, policies, budgets, investments, contracts, approaches to planning decision and the council's own developments are in line with a shift to zero carbon by 2030. What does your amendment add to that?
It's just emphasis, really, because I don't really feel that these decisions are actually considering climate change at the moment. So I just want to emphasise that these decisions should be taking it into account.
Okay, well, I'll put it open to debate. Does anybody want to comment on this amendment? Councillor Prater.
It's your point. It's entirely in line with what the council has already agreed, actually putting it within this investment strategy so that other people can see that best practice without referring to other documents somewhere else. So when other councillors and other councillors come to look at how we are doing this, they can see that practice embedded in the investment strategy is a good thing.
So Mrs. Hollingsby.
Yeah, I was just going to say, how does this mean then that every strategy that we look at or redo or update has got to have this in? I'm just asking the question.
Councillor Wybrow,
Well, I don't think any of them should need it, but unfortunately, I don't think that the word has got around the council yet that we need to be considering this in every decision. So yes, possibly every strategy should have it in. But at the moment, this is the one we're considering, and so that's why I've put it in.
Councillor Godfrey.
I
can't hear you again, Councillor Godfrey.
Ready? Can you now?
Yep.
Yeah.
Good. Okay. I understand what Councillor Wybrow would wish to do here, but I'm not sure that it adds anything to what was already agreed last year. And I don't think it's useful to put it in every document. I think we are committed, and I think the council are all committed. I'm not convinced that we aren't. So I can't see that it actually adds much, although I understand why she would like to do this.
Okay. Well, I think there's one way to find out whether we're going to do it or not. We will put it to the vote. So it's the amendment is proposed by, would you like to read it out again, Councillor Wybrow?
It is to add a clause to the investment strategy to state that in accordance with the climate and ecological emergency motion that was passed in full council on the 23rd of July 2019, all new investments will be assessed to ensure that they're in line with the shift to zero carbon by 2030.
Okay, so it's proposed by Councillor Wybrow, seconded by Councillor Prater. Can we go to the vote, please?
Councillor Collier.
Against.
Councillor Godfrey.
On this one.
Sorry, Councillor Godfrey, we didn't hear you very well. Can you repeat that?
I'm going to abstain on this point.
Okay. Councillor Field.
Against.
Councillor Mrs. Hollingsby.
Against.
Councillor Monk.
Against.
Councillor Peel.
Sorry, abstain.
Councillor Prater.
Or
Councillor Wybrow.
For.
Councillor Wimble.
Against.
I make that 2 for, 5 against and 2 abstentions.
Thank you. So that amendment falls. Now we come back to the main strategy proposed by myself, seconded by Councillor Hollingsby. Unless any member wishes to speak, no, then we will go to the vote. Gemma, please.
Thank you, Leader. Councillor Collier,
For.
Councillor Godfrey,
For.
Councillor Field,
For.
Councillor Mrs Hollingsby,
Or
Councillor Monk,
For.
Councillor Peel,
For.
Councillor Prater,
Abstain.
Councillor Wybrow,
Against.
Councillor Wimble.
Or
I make that 7 for, 1 against and 1 abstention.
Thank you. Okay, then we move on to item 9, carbon action plan and carbon footprint study. Councillor Wybrow.
Thank you. Yes, I'm delighted to be able to present this to you at last. The report sets out how we measured the greenhouse gas baseline of the council's estate, and then it proposes a set of initial actions to get us down to zero carbon by 2030. It also proposes a framework to assess bids to the Climate Change Reserve, and it seeks agreement to the original additional actions that were proposed at full council on the 29th of November. So I propose that we accept all the recommendations, and I'm grateful if someone could second that, please.
Is there a seconder for that, please?
More than happy to second.
So Councillor Wybrow and Councillor Prater. Okay, over to you, members. Well, I will say I'm very pleased to see it's come forward. It's taken a little while. COVID has a lot to answer for. It's caused a lot of things to slow down. We do need it. We do need the action plan in place. We've got a lot of things, very large things coming forward, and we need this sort of thing to influence it. I don't disagree with Councillor Wybrow on that. Having taken the decision we've taken, we must reinforce it wherever we can going forward. And I think this is a good tool to help us on the way. Councillor Mrs Hollingsby.
yes, I would just add to that. I mean, I think it's a very good report. Certainly welcome, and in fact adds to a lot of the work that we do as part of our normal day-to-day roles. So I'm really pleased to see it, and the actions and the recommendations. Very happy to support the report.
Thank you. Councillor Godfrey.
I too support it. In fact, I think I'm going to find it quite useful in my own portfolio when it comes to our new build housing and looking at our existing housing stock. It'll reinforce the arguments to making sure that they too meet these requirements. So I'm very happy to support it.
Councillor Peel.
Thank you, Leader. Yeah, I think again, it's a good report and very useful for everything we're doing for the future. I think also it does highlight that we're not looking at some of the old favourites, kind of transport and vehicles, etc. Not necessarily the major causes of carbon of our footprint in the district, but it's highlighted that gas is one of the major usages, and the fact that Hythe swimming pool is also one of the major contributors there. So it does highlight some of the areas we do need to focus on and deliver responses to. So I think that's been really useful.
Thank you. Does any other councillor wish to speak? No, I think we're all happy with this. It's proposed by Councillor Wybrow, seconded by Councillor Prater. All those in favour, Gemma, please.
Councillor Collier,
For.
Councillor Godfrey,
For.
Councillor Field,
For.
Councillor Mrs Hollingsby,
Or
Councillor Monk,
Or
Councillor Peel,
For.
Councillor Prater,
Or.
Councillor Wybrow,
Or
and Councillor Wimble.
or
That's unanimous, Leader.
thank you very much, and that concludes this meeting. Thank you all. See you at the council meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
See you in a bit.
thank you.